begin with one question for each of our candidates that is tailored to your background. You will have 2 minutes to answer. This is a question for Alec Ross. Can you tell us specifically about a single project that you worked on with the White House or the State Department?
Sure. Where to start? So I'll tell the story of the hours after the earthquake in Haiti. When the earthquake in Haiti took place, as you all may remember, in January of 2010, we very quickly determined that a couple 100,000 people were going to die, and that the level of devastation was going to be extraordinary. The earthquake took place around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we quickly got a call from Hillary Clinton. She was on a plane in Hawaii trying to make a connection to Papua New Guinea, a flight she didn't get to take. And she reached us and she said, Alec, by the time people have the first cup of coffee in their hand tomorrow morning and are hearing about this tragedy, I want you to have something in place so that the American people can get involved in the response. My staff was all over the world, went back to my office, and there were 3 young women there. Kate, Katie, and Katie. So me, Kate, Katie, and Katie said, all right, we've got until tomorrow morning to come up with a project to get all of the American people involved in helping in Haiti. And one of the Katies said, hey, Alec, what about this technology we've helped develop where you can actually make a donation over your cell phone? And we said, hey, this is a pretty clever idea. So I reserved a short code, 90999. We made the Red Cross the designee. We thought we were pretty clever. We thought we would raise a couple $100,000. You know, hey, text the word Haiti to the short code, $10 will get added to your cell phone bill, and all of it will go to the earthquake relief. In 3 weeks, we raised $40 million. Total cost to the taxpayers, 0. Total cost to me, the $19 I put on my credit card for the short code. Innovation in government, it can be done.
Thank you. This question is for Sharon Baker. As the county executive of Prince George's County, you oversaw ethics and oversight reform of the county government. If you were elected governor, how would you address special interests and corruption in Annapolis?
I think the same way that we did it in Prince George's County. The first thing I did as county executive, because we had been rocked by the largest ethical scandal in the state of Maryland outside of what happened in the 70s with Mark Dale. But when I came in, most candidates in Prince George's County, as they do throughout the state, get their money from developers. And so what I proposed at the state level was to go and take that ability away, not only from the county council members, but for the county executives. Now, a lot of people on my staff are not very happy since I had just become county executive and needed to raise money. But the signal I wanted to send was that we were serious about ethics in Prince George's County and we were serious about getting things right. That is the same way we have to do it at the state level. I think there are 2 things that are critical. One, as much as possible to make sure that we get money out of politics. The other thing is to pass a bill so that we can actually have campaign contributions coming, funded from the citizens. If we do that, and we give everyone a fair shot, I'm sure everyone on this panel would agree, the last thing you want to do is sit on the phone raising money. So we want to make sure that we can have public funding for finance of campaigns, but also make sure that we have strong ethical laws, and then when there are complaints, we follow them through. That's what we've done in Prince George's County. That's what we'll do at the state level.
Thank you, Mr. Madalena. Of all the bills that did not pass in Annapolis last year, which one do you think should have passed? And if elected governor, how will you help to get it passed?
Thank you for the question. I think the bill that personally I was most disappointed in it not passing was the Maryland Trust Act. We had an opportunity to send a very powerful statement to the residents of our state that we were not going to tolerate the actions of the Trump administration. We were not going to let our local public safety agencies be nationalized and forced to go out and actually do immigration services, go out and round up people. It was causing fear, distress, in our communities. It was creating conflict between the police and the communities that they are tasked to protect. It was quite frankly unconstitutional to ask our local jails to hold people without cause, without a warrant. We would not tolerate any American being held in those conditions. And for us to turn around and say, well, our rules don't apply when someone is not clearly a documented resident of the country, is to cast aside, I think, our principles. So we should have passed the Trust Act. We could have sent a very strong message to people in our community who have called Maryland home, some of them for decades, and said, no, we are not going to let fear and this effort by the Trump administration to affect our state. So personally, there were so many bills. There were a lot of gun violence prevention bills that I would have loved to have seen that happen. But I think the Trust Act was one where I was most disappointed, and most disappointed in our party that we were unable to get enough Democrats together to get that done.
Thank you. This question is for Mr. Giles. To date, you have not held elected office, which portends new approaches to governance. If you were to become governor, what changes would you make to get things accomplished?
You know, it's true. I'm not a politician. I'm not running because I need a job. I'm running because I have a vision. That we can move forward more quickly in the areas of education, protecting the environment, public safety, health, than we are right now. As an investor in tech companies, you look at other people's failure differently. Some say, well, you know, because California tried to pass a Medicare for All bill, failed, New York failed, Vermont failed, and we just can't do it. Well, I look at it the way that the man who invented the light bulb looked at every failure before. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he finally succeeded. Changed the entire world. And here in Maryland, we have families, we have 80-year-old women who are going out, having to work because they can't afford to pay their pharmaceutical bills. We have families whose budgets are being squeezed again and again as healthcare costs surge. And we have friends who are dying of untimely deaths, top 5 cause of untimely death in our state. We can, and we will, when I'm governor, pass Medicare for all in the state, no matter what happens in Washington. We're able to do it because, frankly, we're a little further down the road than most states. But we'll get it done the way that we got the DREAM Act done, the way that we got the death penalty done, the way that we abolished, the way that we passed marriage equality. You know, folks had tried many years before in the state. But then we came together and we built a movement in a historical moment in which it was more possible. And it's that combination of a governor who has will, the way that Martin O'Malley had will on those 3 issues, building a movement, and this moment that makes it possible for us to pass health care for all.
Thank you. This question is for Kevin Kavanaugh. As the county executive of Baltimore County, you have advocated for the interests of the county, which often ran against the interests of Baltimore City. If you are elected governor, how will you balance these competing interests?
Well, I think we need a governor who understands all parts of the state. I'm a lifelong Marylander. I'm a lifelong Democrat. Baltimore County is a separate jurisdiction from Baltimore City, but we surround the city almost like a horseshoe. 90% of the Baltimore Beltway is actually in Baltimore County, but there's a symbiotic relationship between the city and the county because we have common interests. Many of us came from Baltimore City. Our cultural institutions are regional in nature, but located in the city, and the same with our sporting institutions. And we have shared goals and visions. I'm certainly disappointed with what took place with the unrest, but it wasn't just about Freddie Gray. It wasn't just about the poor relationship between the police and the community. It was also about the cycle and generations of poverty existing within the exact same census tracts. What we need is the opportunities to help people by giving them a affordable housing in decent neighborhoods with low crime, by promoting opportunities for education and workforce development, and by having a viable transportation network that allows people to get to work. Now, my record in Baltimore County is that we've improved our schools with record investment in school construction. We've got a graduation rate with no disparity between black and white students in Baltimore County. We've cut our job rates in half and have built one of the largest intermodal industrial redevelopments in the country at Bethlehem Steel that's going to create 15,000 jobs. We protected our environment, and I've done it all without ever raising the tax rates. That's the kind of leadership I'll bring not only to Baltimore City, but the entire state. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Chris Figueroa. Can you tell us specifically about a single project that you've worked on with Michelle Obama?
Sure, I would speak to Let Girls Learn. I'm not sure how many folks in the audience know what that is, but it's an initiative that the President and First Lady launched as I was her policy director. It's an initiative that we led because we realized that making sure that adolescent girls stay in middle school and high school is of critical importance, not just to those girls and their families, but frankly to communities and countries around the world, but also here at home. It was an initiative that I think probably reflects the way in which I would govern, because it had to be a little scrappy. My boss wasn't a U.S. government employee. We had no real budget authority. We didn't, automatically oversee agencies. But obviously what we tried to do was, through the power of persuasion, get folks, private partners on board. And so it had three key components. One was the fact that we were able to bring together 7 agencies across the entire U.S. government in order to support the initiative, from the State Department to USDA to the Peace Corps. And it was important because we realized that government has to approach problems like girls' education in a more holistic way. Instead of stovepiping them between different agencies, what we brought together was an interagency effort in order to realize that if we actually work together, the sum of parts would in fact be greater. The second part of it was bringing public-private partnerships together. And so through Let Girls Learn, we launched 100 different partnerships. The initiative itself was $1 billion initiative in terms of U.S. government funding. But through my leadership, we were actually able to, through those 100 partners, bring over $3 billion of additional private funding to the cause. So in essence, it was a $4 billion initiative. And that was important because each of these entities brought very unique opportunities and assets to the table. And then the third piece was about public messaging, making sure that folks were aware of the issue, making sure that there was buy-in from audiences across the country, and that's where I would also bring in voters.
Thank you. Our questions now will be for 2 or 3 of you to answer. Please limit your response to 2 minutes. This question is for Rich Madalino and Alan Ross. Maryland is a state with a growing and diverse population. In your view, what has the state done and can do to support immigrant integration in the workplace, schools, and the community? Mr. Madalino, please start off.
Well, first, with our schools, it's very important that we continue to provide the services that the families, that immigrant families need, that the children need. That means providing, in some cases, English language services and English language training for not just the children, but for their family members, and doing it in a way that is accessible to the family members. Sometimes it also means providing other social services within the school settings, with health centers, a variety of counseling services, things that allow participation and inclusion within the greater society on an easier basis. When it comes to, in other ways, helping immigrant families fit in with or feel comfortable and safe in our communities, I already touched upon the Trust Act in my initial response, and I think it's important to remind people that Larry Hogan is actually out fundraising on the Trust Act. He is actually out there using immigrants as a scapegoat to fundraise and scare Marylanders. And I think you're not going to see that from me. You're not going to see that from anyone up here, that we're going to go out and try to scapegoat some part of our community. I think we have to continue to focus on making sure, just like any other working family in the state, we have adequate public transportation so that people can get to the jobs that are necessary. I think we have to make sure that we have good job training that's accessible to everybody, whether it's through the community colleges or helping businesses. But I think it's important that everyone have access to job training. And I think, considering we have so many people in our community as immigrants who are actually ready to nationalize and have not, because the cost of naturalization can be so expensive, we should be more aggressive, like some other communities are, in helping families pay for their naturalization.
Mr. Ross, same question, 2 minutes.
So this has been a big week for me on this issue. I've been a target of Blue Lives Matter and Veterans for Trump, because at the beginning of this week, I made a strong statement that it is time for us to stop the overreach by ICE. I think that what is happening right now in Maryland, where there is evidence of warrantless entry into premises, where there is evidence of interrogation of people where the probable cause is they speak Spanish, that's wrong. And so the first thing that I think we need to have is we need to have a governor who is committed to protect our citizens, our green card holders, and our guests. On this issue, when I'm governor and you drive into Maryland and you drive under a sign that says "Welcome to Maryland," you're entering the resistance. I think it is awful, the rhetoric that has infected American politics, where we are taking everybody who is not of American origin and suddenly they are treated with hostility. It is incredibly disappointing, and this is a case where our governor needs to be very, very, very strong. Now, as a practical matter, how do we integrate them into our workplace, community, and schools? Let me focus on schools. I'm running as the education governor. I was a public school teacher. My wife is a public school teacher. My kids are in public schools. I think we have a great opportunity with the Kerwin Commission to account for the fact that a growing percentage of our public school students were not born in America, and there are things that we can do for those students and for those families to help integrate them into the community, whether it's English as a second language classes, community school programs that respond to the need of immigrants. But first and foremost, we need a strong governor who will not let this form of Trumpism infect Maryland.
Thank you. This question is for Krish Vignaraja and Kevin Cabinets. With Western Maryland seeing a decline in coal mining and other fossil fuel industries, what economic development do you see as viable for those areas?
So this is where I think that the governor needs to show true leadership, because the reality is that Maryland is a state that has incredible assets, ranging from the incredible, beautiful resources in Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore, but also the incredible human talent as well as our location. And so what I would propose are a few different things. First and foremost, when you see declining manufacturing in Hagerstown, the question is, in parts of Hagerstown, Cumberland, etc., what opportunities are there? We see that there are companies like CSX there. But the fact that we're now having conversations where, frankly, the governor hasn't been playing an active role in terms of showing leadership to guarantee that CSX, in fact, does stay here, reflects the fact that we have a lack of leadership from Annapolis. Because whether it's CSX, whether it's financial services that have started to grow in those areas, you realize that there's an incredible opportunity that we can build on, but we're not. When I kicked off my campaign, I actually was in Garrett County. We did a beautiful hike of Swallow Falls, and then the next morning I attended the Garrett County Chamber of Commerce. And you realize that those were two examples of things that we should be promoting. We should be promoting access to our outdoor resources, because we should have an economy that competes against any other state in the country, east of the Mississippi particularly, when it comes to hunting, fishing, birding, biking, because we do have the assets out there. And this is where, when we're talking about branding and bragging, we need to make sure that there's a sustainable income that exists for those areas. But there's also other opportunities. When I was there, I learned about the robotics programs. They're incredible. But the truth is that students come out of those programs And the reality is they don't actually have jobs because we can't find companies to relocate there. And that's where I believe that we will be expanding under my leadership, the biotech corridor, the cyber tech corridor. We should be leading on information technology. We should be making sure that all of those jobs stay in Maryland
Thank you.
because we have them.
Mr. Kamenetz, same question.
Well, first of all, thanks for bringing up Western Maryland, because in order for us to win this race next year, we have to fight for Democratic votes in all parts of the state, including Western Maryland. And it's really interesting, Western Maryland, I don't really know what Larry Hogan's done for them. You know, the opioid and crime epidemic is rising in Western Maryland. The jobs are down. Really, their future isn't any brighter. Let me tell you what I've done in Baltimore County. I faced a situation where I saw the demise of steelmaking. More than a century of steelmaking came to a close at Bethlehem Steel. And a lot of people said, oh, we'll bring steel back. I looked those steel workers in the eyes and I said, steel is not coming back, but let's work together to create that next generation of jobs. And now, on the Sparrows Point Peninsula, we have the largest intermodal industrial redevelopment in the country. We lost 2,000 jobs with RG Steel. We're now creating 17,000 jobs with the likes of Under Armour and FedEx and Pasha Automotive, which says roll on, roll off. These are the type of opportunities that we can develop statewide by determining what value do we have in the location and how do we capitalize on it. But we also have to focus on education. In Baltimore County, I merged the Office of Workforce Development into our Department of Economic Development. We're focused, as opposed to paying corporate ransom to some company to locate in Maryland, we're focused on servicing our existing large employers, understanding what their workforce needs are, and then we train these people to graduate with a job in their hand. That's how you get new opportunities for people, and that's what we can do in Western Maryland and all over the state. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Sharon Baker and Alan Ross. Turning to the other part of the state. The eastern shore of Maryland is economically depressed relative to the Baltimore-Washington corridor. If you are elected governor, what types of economic development would you promote on the eastern shore? Mr. Baker.
Thank you. One of the, our Dean County Executive of Prince George's County is 500 square miles for urban, suburban, and rural. So in order to create job opportunities in Prince George's County, we had to look at every part of it. And so the eastern shore is not much different in terms of the issues we face in the southern parts of Prince George's County. When I was out there on the eastern shore, it's a beautiful place. People want to stay in their homes there. But they want to be able to have the job opportunities that are necessary. And so we started looking at where are the job creations in the county that we could do, that you could provide anywhere, whether it's the eastern shore or Western Maryland. And so we looked at an organization like 2U, which is an online education opportunity that can be located anywhere. And we incentivize that location in New Carrollton and Prince George's County. But that's the type of job opportunity you put in the eastern shore. You can also do incentives around what is naturally there. You're off the water. So the environment is going to provide a lot of opportunities for us to create the green economy and green jobs. I would focus on those and finding, I think everyone will say this, and that is we have to make sure that we have a quality education system that is preparing our students and our workforce to go to college, but also to be workforce ready. And so I think diversifying is the way to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Ross, any question?
So the two biggest deficits on the eastern shore that I think are addressable and are addressable by the governor. One, broadband, and number two, the skilled trades. Folks on the eastern shore, they do want access to high-speed, low-cost broadband. And land was the raw material of the agricultural age. Iron was the raw material of the industrial age. Data is the raw material of the information age. It doesn't matter if you're selling hand-carved wooden ducks. You still have to have a broadband connection to be able to reach markets. The connectivity on the eastern shore is horrendous. And what I would focus on as governor, and I did this over the course of 14 years of my life, helping to bring high-speed, low-cost broadband into underserved communities, I would focus on lighting up the Eastern Shore with high-speed, low-cost connectivity to help enable people to do the kind of work that they want to do there without moving. The second thing is the skilled trades. I think, and this is an area where I fault Democrats. For the last 20 or 30 years, our rhetoric has been, you go to college and you're a winner, you don't go to college and you're a loser. And you want to know why some people are voting for Trump who aren't college educated? It's because of that rhetoric and that reality. There are a lot of folks on the Eastern Shore who are choosing to not go to college. So what we really should be focusing on are the skilled trades and the apprenticeships where there is a lot of demand and insufficient supply. We need welders, we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need them on the Eastern Shore. They need the programs that a governor in the state can bring.
Thank you. The next question is for Kevin Kamenetz and Ben Jealous. What do you see as the most impactful action that will increase diversity in Maryland? Mr. Kamenetz.
Diversity in what?
Diversity in Maryland politics, excuse me. I'll read the question again. What do you see as the single most impactful action that will increase diversity in Maryland politics?
The most important thing we can do in this state is to focus on education, because that's the path that leads to opportunities for everyone. In Baltimore County, we've worked hard to make sure that we reach those opportunities in a very diverse school system. Baltimore County's public school system is very similar in population to Montgomery County. It's majority minority. We actually have students from 105 different countries. 5% of our students don't even speak a word of English, and they speak Swahili and Farsi. We have 40% of our children in Baltimore County who report as free and reduced meal eligible. So our goal is how do we reach all of these people and provide them the opportunities to succeed, and we've been doing that. We also have to promote good opportunities for people to do business with the government. And in Baltimore County, we have promoted aggressive women-owned and minority-owned business enterprise opportunities. We set goals at 15%, and we've been achieving 17 to 19% success rate, and we want those opportunities. We've also worked hard to diversify our county government. When I took office, I made it a goal to make sure that our police and fire departments reflected the quality and the diversity of the communities that we represent. And our recruit classes have been 40% non-white male every year. And we're showing great results with improving the relationship with body cameras, and we're leaders in that, and crime is down in Baltimore County. So there's so many different ways that we can set by example opportunities for all. That's what we're missing now as President Trump conducts his reign of terror on the immigrant community. And it's why I passed an executive order to stand up for those rights.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
The question was diversity in Maryland politics, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. The best thing we can do to increase diversity in politics in our state is to actually have public financing across the state that works. I push hard for it in counties like Howard County, and we need a system that works statewide. It should not be that wealth is the first primary, that there's a financial barrier to the participation of our neighbors. I got a little bit more time left, so let's talk about the pipeline into that. The reality is that wealth is a barrier to education as well, and we have to end that. If you go back the day before mass incarceration began, if you go back to the 1960s, public universities in our country cost about 9 hours of minimum wage work per week to pay your fees. That's why you know so many baby boomers who work their way through college. And that's why you don't know many Generation Xers or folks from younger generations who didn't come out without debt. And that debt is strangling the future leadership of our country in politics and business. I mentor startups every day, and lots of young people with great ideas, but they feel like they have to just go earn a paycheck. They can't launch that next great business. Similarly, we have to make sure that our vendors are inclusive. If you look at what funds a lot of this kind of career politicians' coffers, it's vendors to government. And the reality is that there's great discrimination in this state against women-owned businesses, against people of color-owned businesses. We've just launched what will become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there's not one person of color who owns a majority. Actually, we've done it twice. We did it with gambling, and we've done it with medical cannabis. So we have to do better. We have to create a pipeline, but if it's about diversity in politics, we must pass a public financing system that works.
Thank you. Next question is for Rich Manolino, and